There are two kinds of quiet daughters in every house: the ones whose silence is obedience, and the ones whose silence is memory. My mother thought I was the first kind, until the morning after my 18th birthday, when she slid a manila folder across the kitchen table, and I finally showed her which daughter she had actually raised.
My name is Ava Mercer. I had just turned 18. By 9:03 the next morning, my mom was sliding a manila folder across our kitchen table like it was breakfast. She smiled that soft practice smile and said, "Honey, we need to talk about that money." My blood ran cold. She had no idea I already knew. Before I take you into that kitchen, hit like and subscribe. It helps more than you know. Drop your city and your local time in the comments. I read every single one. Let me take you back 6 months earlier to a Tuesday in October, the kind of evening where the porch light clicks on by 5 o'clock. I was cleaning my room when I noticed Grandpa Walter's old cedar box on the top shelf. He had given it to me on my 17th birthday, the last gift he handed me in person before the cancer took him. I hadn't opened it in months. The hinges whispered when I lifted the lid. Inside lay a pressed maple leaf from the yard behind the farmhouse, a faded photo of him and Grandma at their 50th anniversary, in a white envelope. On the front, in his steady handwriting, "Open only if something feels off with your mother before your 18th birthday. Call David Caldwell immediately." I sat down on the edge of my bed. I didn't open it, not yet. I just held it, turning it over in my hands, staring at his handwriting until it blurred. Grandpa had been gone a year and a half, and somehow he had still known. He had known enough to hide a warning inside a cedar box and pray I would find it in time. Downstairs, I heard paper, the slow, careful crinkle of documents being shuffled and folded. My mom's voice pitched low, Ryan's voice even lower. I couldn't hear the words. I didn't have to. I put the envelope back, closed the lid, and went downstairs for a glass of water. I said nothing about the kitchen light still being on at 10:30 p.m. when my mother was supposed to be in bed. Looking back, that envelope was the first time someone had ever handed me a weapon. I just didn't recognize it yet.
My dad died when I was 10. His name was Gregory Mercer. He drove a silver Ford Ranger, and one foggy November morning in 2018, he didn't come back from a delivery run up Route 3. There was a semi. There was a trooper at our front door with his hat in his hands. My mother cried for exactly 1 week. Then she started house hunting for a new kitchen. She remarried in 2020. Ryan Hollis, contractor, big truck, big laugh, and a daughter from his first marriage named Leela, 2 years younger than me, who moved into the bedroom across the hall. I learned 3 things fast. 1, my mother punished tears. If I cried, she called it drama and went to the porch with her wine. 2, my mother punished joy. If I laughed too loud, she narrowed her eyes and said, "Ava," inside voice. 3, the only safe setting was flat, so I went flat. I went quiet. By 12, I had stopped spending my feelings around her. I saved them for Grandma Eleanor's porch, Grandpa Walter's tomato vines, and the pages of books where other people were allowed to feel things out loud. My mother thought quiet meant obedient. It didn't. Quiet meant I was watching. Quiet meant I was remembering. In my house, emotions were currency. I had stopped spending mine by 12. My mother called it quiet. I called it not giving her a weapon. 8 years later, she would slide a manila folder across the kitchen table and finally learn how much I had been paying attention. Dinner at the Hollis house ran on a schedule. 6:30 p.m. Ryan came in through the garage, boots off at the laundry room, smelling of joint compound and truck cab. He'd drop his keys on the counter with a loud jangle. My mother would pour his wine before he asked. Leela would talk. She always talked. That Sunday in March, Leela had gotten her Bucknell early decision acceptance, $65,000 a year before books. Ryan raised his glass. "That's my girl." My mother touched Leela's wrist. "We'll figure out the rest, don't you worry." Leela glanced at me. I was cutting my chicken. I didn't look up. I said evenly, "I got the Penn State email yesterday, main campus." Silence. My mother said, "That's nice, sweetheart." Ryan grunted. "College is a scam. Real money's in the trades, but whatever." My mother smiled her charity committee smile. "Ava, we'll talk about your future closer to your birthday." That phrase again. Closer to your birthday. She had said it 3 times in February, twice already in March. It didn't sound like a celebration. It sounded like an appointment. Ryan added, casual as weather, "Family money stays with family, Ava, not in some lawyer's fault." My mother cut him a fast look that said, "Shut up too soon." I kept cutting my chicken. I was paying attention. Grandma Eleanor died when I was 14, breast cancer. She held my hand the afternoon she passed and said, "You are a good, good girl. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." I didn't cry in the hospital. I cried in the parking lot in Grandpa's Buick. He didn't shush me. He just said, "Let it out, Peanut. Let it out." Grandpa Walter held on for 2 more years. The summer I was 16, I stayed with him for July and August. I read to him, watered the tomatoes, cooked his eggs the way he liked them, hard yolks, extra butter, lots of salt. He died in September, a Tuesday, heart. At the funeral, my mother wore navy and cried at the right volumes. Ryan stood in the back checking his phone. The will was read 2 weeks later. There was a trust with my name on it. About $680,000 in blue chip shares, some cash, and the proceeds from a small lot Grandpa had sold in Bucks County. The terms were simple. The assets belonged to me. I couldn't touch the principal until my 18th birthday. On that day, full beneficial ownership transferred. The trustee named on the paperwork was David Caldwell. Grandpa's handwritten note inside the folder said 6 words. "Your choice, your life. Love, Grandpa." My mother read those 6 words with a look I had never seen on her face before. Not sad, not proud, calculating. Grandpa had left me a door. My mother had already hired a locksmith. 6 months before my 18th birthday, a man in a gray suit started showing up at our house every Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. Same charcoal Lexus. He stayed an hour and 15 minutes and left with a leather binder under his arm. My mother said he was an insurance guy, then a financial planner, then a friend of Ryan's. The story changed. The binder didn't. One afternoon in January, I came home early from the library because of a snowstorm. I pushed through the mudroom door and heard papers on the kitchen table. My mother's voice. "Once she signs, the rest is just paperwork. Ryan, and if she hesitates?" My mother laughed. Short, dry. "Ava, she'll sign. She always does." I stood in the mudroom with my boots still on, pulse loud in my ears. Then I opened the door loudly and called out, "Mom, I'm home early." I heard papers sweep. When I walked into the kitchen, the table was clear. My mother smiled. "Snow day, huh? Want some cocoa?" That was the moment I stopped being the daughter who didn't know. I just didn't tell anyone I had crossed over. I opened Grandpa's envelope that Friday at Willow Creek Park. The swings were empty. The sky was the color of wet pavement. I slit the seal with my thumbnail. The letter was 1 page, Grandpa's handwriting. "Peanut, if you're reading this, something has gone wrong with your mother. I've suspected it for a long time. I never wanted to poison you against her, but I couldn't leave without giving you a door to open. David Caldwell has been my attorney for 30 years. He knows everything. He's waiting for your call. You have the right to protect yourself. You have the right to choose. I believe you will choose well. Love, Grandpa." Below it, in careful block letters, a phone number, area code 717. I dialed. A woman answered. "Caldwell Estate Law, this is Paula." I said, "Hi, my name is Ava Mercer. My grandfather was Walter Mercer. He told me to call Mr. Caldwell." She was quiet for half a second. "Hold on, sweetie." A click. Then a warm baritone. "Ava, this is David Caldwell. I've been expecting your call." For the first time in a long time, someone believed I could handle the truth. We met twice more before my birthday, always with a cover story. Caldwell was patient. He spoke about money like plumbing, not magic, not morality, just pipes and valves. We named the new trust together. He asked, "What do you want to call it?" I said, "The Eleanor Trust." He wrote it down without asking why. We built it piece by piece. Corporate trustee, irrevocable, spendthrift clause, me as sole beneficiary, my mother, Ryan, and Lila commonly excluded. Caldwell said, "Once you sign, not even you can undo it. That's the point. It protects you from them and from you in a weak moment." I said, "I know." The Sunday before my birthday, my mother made pot roast. Over dinner, I asked casually, "Mom, what's the difference between a trust and a family account?" She lit up. "Oh, honey, trusts are complicated. They can fail if they're not managed by family who really cares." Ryan nodded. "Family money stays in family hands." Lila, without looking up, said, "Mom says the money was supposed to be all of ours anyway." Dead silence. My mother recovered with a bright smile. "Lila just means family is a team, sweetheart." I said, "Of course, Mom, this roast is amazing." I kept my face clean. Inside, I was taking notes.
April 15th, 2026, 11:59 p.m. My bedroom door was locked. At 12:01 a.m., I typed my full legal name, Ava Marie Mercer. The notary confirmed. The trustee confirmed. At 12:04 a.m., the funds were transferred. The Eleanor Trust was fully funded, $681,412.90. Irrevocable. I slept. 7:30 a.m. the next morning. The kitchen smelled like pancakes. My mother was at the stove in her pink quilted robe. She turned and beamed. "There's my birthday girl. Happy 18th, sweetheart." She hugged me a little too long. A manila folder sat on the table next to her coffee mug. She let me eat 2 bites before sliding the folder across. "Honey, now that you're 18, there's something we need to talk about. That money from Grandpa." She said it was just some family paperwork our attorney drew up to help us all be smart.
I opened the folder. Everett Family Financial Unification Agreement. Ava Marie Mercer, Principal. Caroline Mercer Hollis, Successor Co-Trustee. Ryan J. Hollis, Attorney-in-Fact. I read every page slowly. At the 5-minute mark, my mother's smile began to crack. Ryan said, "Ava, you don't need to read every line." I said, "I like to understand what I'm signing." When I reached the page about assigning interest to Hollis Mercer Holdings LLC, I tapped tick. "What is this?" My mother blinked. "Just a family entity for tax purposes." I said, "When was it formed?" Ryan cut in. "Ava, stop. It's just paperwork. Sign the sticky pages." I looked at him calmly. "Ryan, how long have you known Lance Briggs?" The name landed hard. My mother said too quickly, "We haven't even told you the attorney's name yet." I said, "I know. That's what I'm noticing." Lila whispered, "Wait, who's Caldwell?" Ryan snapped, "Lila, not now." I closed the folder. "Mom, this document was generated 4 months ago, while I was still 17. The kitchen went quiet. My phone, lying face up beside my plate, vibrated. The screen lit up, David Caldwell, Esquire, 9:03 a.m. My mother's face lost its color. I picked up the phone and said, "Do you mind if I put him on speaker?" Ryan half stood. "Don't answer that." I hit speaker. Caldwell's calm baritone filled the kitchen. "Good morning, Ava. Happy birthday. I hope I'm not interrupting breakfast." I said, "You're not. We were just starting a conversation about money." He confirmed the Eleanor Trust was fully funded at 12:04 a.m., irrevocable, with Midland Trust Services as corporate trustee. My mother, Ryan, and Lila permanently excluded. Ryan's face went purple. "What trust?" Caldwell continued, explaining the document in front of me was unenforceable, prepared while I was still a minor, and that he had filed a complaint against Lance Briggs. My mother said very small, "Ava, please." I looked at her. "Mom, look at me." Her eyes came up, red. I said, "Did you know what he was drafting?" She whispered, "Yes, I knew." Lila made a small sound. Ryan slammed his palm on the table. I stood up, picked up the folder and my phone, and said, "Thank you for breakfast, Mom." I walked to the front door. Aunt Beth was waiting at the end of the driveway. I didn't look back. That was the morning my mother learned which kind of quiet daughter she had raised, the one whose silence was memory. If this story made your chest tight, drop one word in the comments, quiet. If you've ever been the daughter who was expected to stay silent so someone else could stay comfortable, type, "I see you." Hit like if this resonated. Subscribe for more stories like this. There's another story linked in the description. It starts with a will reading. You're not dramatic. You're paying attention. See you there.